The last material we're going to look at in this film are ceramics, and there's a very, very small selection here of the types of ceramics we might encounter in a normal history museum's inquiry session. So the two key processes to keep in mind are the ways in which the clay has been treated, and then the ways in which the finished product or the semi-finished product is then glazed or painted or treated. So just looking at the methods of production, first of all, the most fundamental one is this, which is known as earthenware. This is actually quite a smooth form of earthenware, but basically it's quite low fired in a kiln and has quite a rough granular feel to it. Underneath this you can see another type of earthenware, again quite rough and quite porous. And the object of glazing them, of course, is to make them waterproof. And that technique has been with us since the beginning of human civilization to some extent. What then happened was that people realized that if they overfired or fired normal earthenware at a high temperature, they would produce something called a stoneware, which in itself actually can become watertight. And perhaps the things that we see most of are these type of pots which are used for ink or sometimes ginger beer. You also get stoneware hot water bottles, but they're heavy. It's a very it's a hard feel. It's a hard material. It's quite sort of almost glass-like in some respects, being that hard. Stonewares were developed in the 16th and 17th centuries and have been with us ever since. Then in the 18th century, people in the Western Europe finally worked out how to make porcelain, which is a much lighter, thinner bodied ceramic, which if you hold to the light, you can sort of see your finger through it or anything else. It's translucent. This has been made in China for years before, centuries before, millennia before. And it was a closely guarded secret of how it was made. So from the 1700s and in the UK from the 1740s, porcelain is used widely, firstly as a very expensive and then as a less expensive material. So earthenware, stoneware, porcelain are the ones that we're going to look at, or we've looked at really, in terms of the basic fabrics. What then happens is the way in which they're decorated. Now, very early glazes tended to be made of lead, and so often tend to be quite yellow or green in their colour. In the 16th century, the use of tin-based glazes came in, which provided this wonderful white glaze, which could then be painted onto, as in the case of this Delft tile. And that again became very widespread in the 17th century. Painted decorations, such as on this porcelain saucer, again you can get painting decoration which is both on top of the glaze or sometimes underneath it as well. So the underglaze, overglaze painting is another element to look for. In the 17th century, a process known as slipware decoration started to come in. And what you have is, in this case, this is a copy of a late 17th century drinking vessel, which where liquefied clay, known as slip, has been trailed and dotted on to create this inscription and these other decorations. Then in the middle of the 18th century, transfer printing came in to create, well, eventually things like this, the well-known Willow Pattern design. And what we have here is a decoration which is developed as a on a copper plate as an etched illustration, which by various processes are then transferred and printed onto the plate. And if you look very closely, you can see where the paper join often came in. You can see one there, and there's another bit further down there. On the better quality transfer printing, you don't see the joins so much. That's a mid-19th century example. And then from about 1800, techniques of using gold and silver dissolved in various substances to create a lustrous glaze, and so you get the development of a number of really quite stunning lusterwares right through the majority of the 19th century. So, as I said, there are many different types of glazes, many different types of fabrics in ceramics. These are just a number of them, but if you keep in mind that earthenware, stoneware, porcelain, and then ways of decorating them in terms of lead glazes, which are often green and yellow, tin glazes, which can be white, but then with blue painting and sometimes multicolored, slipwares, which can often be quite nodular and quite raised, transfer printing, which can be a wide variety of designs. You get some idea of the wide variety of decorations you can get on this material.